Hi, this is Tara with Tara's Tips, Terrific Ink, Paper, and Stamps. And today I want to show you this card that uses the Fond of Autumn stamp set and the Autumn Bouquet dies. It is a pop-up card, so when you open it, you've got that. And then I just decorated the envelope with an acorn. So let's get started here. First, we're just going to start with a scrap of the basic white cardstock. And this is our Autumn Bouquet die, and we are going to stamp it up with the Memento ink. And when I have a larger stamp, I like to hold it upside down so I can see what I'm getting and what I'm not. And I like to press down for a few seconds just to let that ink transfer to the cardstock. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to color this with the Stampin' blends. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me color all of it, but I did want to show a few things the way I, do some color. When I color, I tend to go in with my dark color first and put my dark spots where I want them to be, and then I come back in with my light and blend that in. I know everybody doesn't do it. Everybody does it, different. And my coloring, my shadows, they're not always where they should be because I'm not a professional artist. But I think with the darks and lights, as long as you put in some darks and lights, it looks like it's professional, whether you know what you're doing or not. I mean, maybe somebody that really knows what they're doing would come in and say, oh, that's not right. But I don't think too many people will do that. With my leaves here, on these leaves here, I used the light evening evergreen. And I went just up the stems. And then I took the dark parakeet party and kind of colored over them. And then I came in with the light parakeet party and finished them off. And then on these leaves here, I came in with the dark evening evergreen. I just wanted them a little bit darker in the center. So I did the dark first. And then I went over it with the light. And then I did my dark and light parakeet party. And your light kind of helps move the dark around a little bit and not make it quite so dark and contrasting. Okay, and here's the one I've done already. I did dark petal pink and light petal pink for the flowers. I did the poppy parade, light and dark for the berries, light and dark crumb cake for the acorns, light and dark soft suede for the leaves, and then the light and dark evening evergreen for these leaves here. And then I ran that through the Big Boss with this die here that cuts out the whole image. And then I just wanted to show you, I had done a piece of crumb cake with both two cutouts of this die here. And that's what that looks like. So that kind of looks cool on there, but I decided I wanted to go with the leaf fall embossing folder. And then you can this die here you can lay over top, and it actually cuts out 4 different pieces. So you have the 2 different sections with the berries, and then the flowers and the berries, and the acorns and leaves. So that's what I did for our inside. And then you also got a leaf and acorn, the flower, and the greeting sentiment there. Okay, and the leaf fall embossing folder is actually meant to only go over part of your card, not the whole thing. So it depends on how you want it, what parts you want embossed and what parts you don't. I actually wanted the whole thing embossed, so what I did was I brought it down like this in my embossing folder, and I ran it through my die cut and emboss spine first through it. So I'm gonna go do that and I will be back. Okay, so this is what you've got. I'm gonna flip the card around, put it through, line up my embossing so it doesn't overlap the other leaves, get it where I want it, and I like how that looks here. And then because I don't want to squish all this embossing, I'm going to run it through just halfway through, like to about here. So I'm going to miss getting these ones done, and I'll probably squish these ones a little bit. And normally you are supposed to have your spine first going through your die cut and emboss machine. But because I want to get this embossed, I need to run it through this way, through the die cut and emboss machine. So I'll be right back. Okay. So you can see we're missing a little bit up here and a little bit down here. So what I'm going to do is put that back in and just line up my emboss there. And then I'm actually going to lay it down and just squeeze, like put pressure on the pieces that don't have the embossing. I could run it through my Big Boss again, but then I would flatten what's not there. So I don't want to do that. So I'm just giving it a little bit of, well, a lot of pressure, as much as I can give it. And it gets slightly more embossed there. And I'm going to flip it around. And give it some extra pressure. And by that way you can see I've gotten a little bit more of that embossing back in. And we are going to be covering most of this up, so it's not crucial that we have every thing done exactly. Okay, I'm going to bring in a scrap of basic white and my banner, as well as my sentiment. And this is the stamp set here, the Fond of Autumn, where you've got your banner thing that you can put some of your sentiments inside, and I like that with the matching autumn bouquet dies. Okay, so we are going to ink up with our Evening Evergreen. And there is our banner. And we're using Poppy Parade for our ink. And I actually got my color combos from the Rings of Love designer paper that was the celebration paper. The only one I didn't use was the Crushed Curry. I used Daffodil Delight instead for my Stampin' Blends because we don't have Crushed Curry Stampin' Blends. There's that. And I am going to run that through our die cut and emboss machine. Okay, so here we've got our front, and I'm going to just use Stampin', the mini Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of that. And a few in the middle. Okay, and so the last card here I have done the pearls on. I think we're going to go ahead and try a couple rhinestones this time around. And I'm just going to use the Dark Evening Evergreen. And I've got 3 of them colored there. And my Take Your Pick tool to slide them off. Just push them over and it'll stick to the putty. Okay. And we are just going to mount that on a regular card base of Evening Evergreen. Okay, so our inside piece this is 8.5 by 5.5, so this is 8.25 by 5.25, scored at 4 1/8. And I have taken to measuring over here. I found my center line, which was 2 5/8 inch, and I drew a line 1 inch up. And then the center between that and the edge was 1 5/16, and between here and here was 3 5/16. And I went 3/4 of an inch up both these, and then 1 in the center, because I wanted my main flower to be up in front of the others. So what I'm going to do is fold this in half, and you wouldn't have to measure. I kind of like to measure, you know, to make sure you're getting your middle right. But I am just going to cut a little bit on the either side of each line, and on the center one, I am going to cut a little bit wider because our flower is a little bit wider than the berries. Okay, and once you've done that, you just want to fold them down and press them down. Okay, so then you've got like this. You're going to open this up and push these through the other way so that they come through. Like that. So this will be the inside, and we are going to take a 3 by 5 inch of Crumb Cake through our leaf fall embossing folder, and this time I'm not going to worry if I get, you know, leaves everywhere, the whole place. So I'm just going to put it in like that and run it through. So I'll be right back. Okay, so this will go like this. Okay, and we are going to stamp real quick our flower for the inside using the Memento black again. You always want to use the Memento ink with your Stampin' blends. If you were coloring them with like your water painters or something, you would want to use StazOn then. But since we're using the Stampin' blends, we want to use the Memento ink. I'm using dark Crumb Cake for the little dots. And I like to come back in with the dark just because it doesn't do a real noticeable difference sometimes when you do the dark first. And we're going to do the leaves the same way as we did the others. Dark evening evergreen, light evening evergreen, and then our dark and light parakeet party. So that will be our part of our inside. And then we are going to do our flowers and then our leaves there. And I am just going to put those on with mini glue dots. Okay. And this one has such a tiny tip, I like to roll the glue dot kind of in half before I put it on. And I must have my glue dot over the edge here. Let's see. Yes, I do a little bit. So we're going to try to roll that glue dot back just a little bit so it's not catching. Okay, we're just going to shut that. So then that will be our inside. And so we're going to stick this in. You want to make sure that you've got it the right way in when you're gluing. Just shut that down. So we've got that there. And we're going to shut that. So there's our card, and then you could write whatever you wanted on the inside. And then for our envelope, I stamped the acorn and colored it with the blends, but the blends did bleed a little bit on the envelope, so if you don't want it to bleed, you could just stamp the acorn with either you could do soft suede, early espresso, crumb cake, and just leave it at that, or you could just stamp it in black and leave it at that, because the recipient usually throws the envelope away anyway. Hopefully they don't throw the card away, but you never know. Okay, so here's the one with the gems, and here's the one with the pearls. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. I will have all the details in the description below, and links to everything that you need to use to make this. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.